haven't seen part 1 of this series yet, I'll leave that one plugged somewhere up above for you to just click and go watch it. This is part of a 10-part video series that I am doing to help adult content creators, both new and already working adult content creators, on being successful in the adult industry and achieving your dreams. And buckle up, because this part of the series is where you need to get your booty to work. But luckily for you, I have all the experience to help you achieve a successful routine much faster than when I started out myself. So in the last video, we talked about how to build up your brand, how to create your brand, and how to get started as an adult content creator. So if you've done that part, you probably do not have any content yet. No videos, no photos, nothing to sell, and nothing to sell yourself in terms of advertising. And to do this, you need to create a whole database of content. Now, the best way to start doing this is to go back to the drawing board and start brainstorming all of those ideas that you have, so you can start planning some video and photo shoots for yourself. Now, photos are really best to be utilized for advertising. I do sometimes make sales on photo sets, but even the few sales that I do, it's not worth it to go out of my way to create photo sets. They can help advertise, they can help promote things, but they do not sell in and of itself. You should be planning one photo shoot, at least one, in your first film day, your first studio production day, to get yourself started, so you have that in your collections. And for this photo shoot, I would highly recommend that you have both SFW photos and NSFW photos, because a lot of these platforms will require you and request that you have SFW photos for your profile image, sometimes for your banner. So this is highly important to have these photos. They have to be large 4K photos, preferably. You can always shrink them down so that you have your thumbnails for your profile images. But for those big banner images, you're going to want big, really high quality, nicely lit 4K photos. Now, this photo set is probably the only thing that I will tell you it has to be high quality standards. For the specific purposes of advertising you, your brand, and posting all of your social media, your profile image, your banner, and all of those advertisements that you're going to start posting on all of these platforms. For the video content that you want to be shooting, you can film whatever you want, from your niche to whatever you want to try out, see what sticks. You can even go through like popular categories, popular keywords on the platforms that you are working on. Another thing that you can do to pull inspiration is you can go to like the top 10 models on these platforms, see what they're doing, see what interests you, and see where you would kind of like to try and recreate some of these things. It will help you start gaining some experience and figuring out what you do like to film, what you don't like to film, and get your foot in the door. Videography and photography is going to be a huge trial and error process, as all of these other aspects are going to be when you're first starting out. They are all brand new skill sets that you are starting to learn, and nobody expects you to be perfect or amazing right off the bat. If you do have filmography under your belt or some photography experience, that is amazing. Or if you have a filmographer or a videographer, it might even be in your best interest if you have some money to invest in your business. I mean, when I started out, I had like pretty much nothing to invest in my business, so everything was done by me pretty much. But if you have any amount of money, I would highly recommend for that photo set that you just go and get a professional photographer that can do SFW and NSFW. That might be actually one of the best investments that you can make in your business. Otherwise, you can try your best to take them for yourself. You can ask a friend if you have that available or something to help you out with photo shoots. You will need lighting, you will need cameras. I mean, right now I am using a camera that is one that I wouldn't even recommend, honestly, so I'm not even gonna plug that one, but a very affordable, very versatile camera that I specifically use for my photos is the Canon ADD 80D Canon. And I am using, gosh, I can't remember which lens I am using, because that one's like the more specific thing that you need. If I remember it, or if I Google it or whatever, I will link that in the comment section below. But of course, you will need some equipment to be doing these shoots, at least one camera. You don't have to have a microphone, but if you have the money to invest, you can look into a microphone for your camera, or an external one that you can get a higher produced quality sound. But if you do not have the budget for that yet, don't worry about it for right now. you're just getting started. For the lighting, I would highly recommend at least starting out with 2 lights. You can get lights for actually very reasonably affordable prices on Amazon. You really don't have to spend that much money. If you have the money to invest, I would highly recommend you get a small rig studio light. This would be your main fill light that really lights up your room, your area, and your film space. The standard rule for lighting is to have 3-point lighting, and this really helps to fill in all of that shadow, all those dark spots. You can always edit and boost this in post edits. I specifically use Filmora, I use Windows computers, I do not use Apple's, so there are specific softwares that you can use Apple softwares, but I am not very familiar. I'm very familiar with Windows softwares, but nothing beats really good lighting in the raw video file. The post edits just only help really enhance that video quality. And it really can't correct everything. It can only do so much. So having everything as accurate as possible is the best. Some other things that you might want to look into in your film space include, do you have yellow tinted light bulbs or do you have white tinted light bulbs? I currently have moved into a house that has an off-white wall and it's kind of yellow, and it's really upsetting because that does not look good on camera at all. And sometimes you just can't get away with it. Like if I tried to paint this entire house, like first of all, I'd probably have to paint it back because I'm renting, and second of all, that would be really expensive and time consuming. So sometimes it's just not realistic. You can utilize backdrops to try and work around this. But at the very minimum, if you can change your lights to white soft lights instead of yellow lights, that is going to be a huge shift. Like I've done that in both of my bathrooms, and the quality in terms of yellow color that's coming on the video camera, it's so much more white. So these are just some pointers in terms of you creating your studio, at-home studio, to start building your content. This is one of those topics that I do want to create a more in-depth video about because it is so complex and I have a lot more experience now in this area. But at the very least, make sure you at least have 1 camera, and of course, if you have no budget at all, you can always start out using your phone and buy one of those really cheap tripods for your phone, and you can utilize that. Just make sure you clean your camera lens every single time you're filming, because that can really mess up your camera quality too. 3-point lighting preferably, but 2-point lighting if you are working on a small budget at least, and changing out your yellow light bulbs to a white light bulb LEDs. Of course, you will need a computer, you will need SD cards. SD cards go into the camera, and of course if you're filming with your phone, then you do not need SD cards right now, but SD cards go into your camera and then you transfer all the files to your computer. Make sure you pay attention and figure out how many gigabytes you have on your personal computer, or if you are purchasing a computer, I would recommend you make sure that the computer you are getting at least has 1 terabyte of space, not 500 gigabytes or less, because when you're filming content, especially if you choose 4K, 1080p is perfectly fine. You can do 1080p, but regardless, you're going to start building up that space really, really quickly. So I highly recommend you have at least 1 terabyte, and you might not need it right now unless you are planning on mass producing a bunch of content, but you might even need some external hard drives that will be able to store an additional terabyte, 2 terabytes of space. And that is something that you can look into at Best Buy, on Amazon. So if you need that extra space, be aware that that is something that is very crucial and important if you start filling up the space that you currently have. So the studio production space of technology is something I am definitely going to need to speak on way more in depth. I'm just covering the surface parts of this video right now because it's so complicated, but I hope that gives you an idea at least as to how you're going to start working on creating your content if you're going to have an in-home studio and you don't have someone else that you're going to pay to bring their studio equipment, like their lights and their cameras and stuff like that, to help you film and take photos. So once you have your studio set up and you have your brainstormed lists of videos and your photo shoot plans that you want to do to start building your content, you're gonna want to create a routine for yourself. What is your workflow? What is your schedule? What is your routine? And this is so very important for so many reasons. And also, you shouldn't just be including your workflow in your routine. You should be including everything that's going to help you build your success in your routine. In this video, I am going to mention the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, both mentally and physically, getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise, getting the right foods, being able to manage your stress with things like time off, meditation, time with your friends and family. These are all really important parts that you should be incorporating into your daily routine, because you're going to want to focus on the long term. If you focus on the short term, you're more than likely going to burn yourself out really fast, and inevitably you're going to be less productive. That's the same thing as like going on a crash diet. It is way more sustainable and you're going to have way more results if you pick a routine that you can stick to and follow in the long run versus just a short, quick run burnout. For building your routine, I am going to be giving a non-sponsored plug here of Lewis Howes' School of Greatness. I've been listening to his podcast for well over a year now, and this man's podcast, I'm not kidding you, has changed my life, changed my career in so many ways. I mean, you are the one doing all the work, but this information is a gold mine of info. Like, I'm not even kidding, for entrepreneurs, for people who want to achieve success in all areas of their lives. Like, this podcast, you need to be on it on Spotify, on YouTube, preferably Spotify because you'll have access to most of his content, but he is also on YouTube. An example of a routine can look like this, and this is how my routine looks like. I will be very honest in saying that I do not follow my routine to a T, and I do not follow my routine every single day. A big reason for that is my stress is very attached to expectations, and when I start having too many expectations on myself, then I start stressing way too hard. And this is something you can do too. Like, you can have like a workflow routine where some days you're gonna really say, I'm doing this to the T, to like kind of bring yourself into that routine, but have leniency with yourself and don't stress yourself out too much, because that can do more harm than good. But my routine on its best day looks something like this. Waking up at 6 a.m., doing a 30-minute meditation, taking my dogs on a walk, getting home, making coffee, making the dogs breakfast, then going right into the office and starting my daily work. My daily work takes me about an hour. After I finish all of my daily work, I am doing a workout, full body workout that I'm just popping on some YouTube videos and I'm doing those. Then I'll take my vitamins, I'll make some tea, I'll make some breakfast, some brunch, because at this point it's like getting closer to around noon. And then I will be going into my office and I will be working the work shift of like all of the new things I'm doing for that day. Towards the end of my work shift, towards like 6 p.m., that's when I'm gonna start making dinner. And the rest of the day I am off. I could either play video games, I could spend time with friends and family. And that's just an example of what a routine can look like. A routine like this is really great because when you are managing your mental health, you are in the best, most focused mindset to be able to handle your workload. And when you are physically healthy, you have more energy to be able to get more work done and not get burnt out so quickly. So brainstorm some ways that you can create a success routine for yourself. Write down what that looks like for you in a day, and also what that looks like for you in a week. What days are you going to take off during the week? What hours are you going to be working your shifts? Which days are you doing what? Are you going to be filming on Mondays and editing on Tuesdays and then promoting and advertising on Wednesdays? Like, how does that look like for you? What are you doing on each of these days? From your morning routine to your weekly get it done, how are you going about your workflow? It's really important that you know what your targets are, what your focus is for the different things that you're doing to build your content, edit your content, advertise your content. Basically, if it's not organized in this manner, you end up lacking focus and you don't end up getting as much done, and also the things that need to get done in the right order. So having this sort of focus by just having the structure is really, really important. And you're going to see a lot of success with this kind of a workflow and a routine too. Well, that certainly was a lot, but this is probably one of the most important parts of this entire series. If you are going to take away anything else from any of the videos in this series, this is one part that is really going to help you grow and achieve and succeed in your business. And this video will also help you at any point in time in your career. You can come back to this and be like, okay, let's reevaluate my daily routine right now. Let's reevaluate my workflow and my weekly scheduled breakdown of how I'm going about my work and how I can improve that. It's just the fundamentals and the breakdowns that really create a very solid structure and a starting ground for you to build up that routine, and where workflow will build from there. Well, babes, as always, I hope this video was very helpful, very informative, and I hope you gained a lot out of this video. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below to my YouTube channel, turning on that notifications button on, and I'll see you for the next video in this series very soon, so you don't want to miss it. Bye for now, till next time.